Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Go Figure. God damn it. I've been doing tutorial videos. Welcome to another episode of General Geekery. With me, as always, is JD.
Hello.
And our special guest today is Daniel from Vega Customs. Thank you for joining us, Daniel.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. It's cool.
We hope you're enjoying our month-long spotlight on customizers. We kind of skipped that last week by having my buddy John on the show to unbox his commission. He was just in country for a short time, so we kind of had to squeeze him in there.
Yeah, he's gone now, right? Like he's overseas again.
I don't know. Because he went back to the contract that I was on in Ukraine. So I got a couple of buddies going back there, it looks like. But yeah, I think he's talking about going to Afghanistan. So
yeah, this I don't know that this is the best time for that. I'm just gonna say.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But his background, yeah, he might go. So yeah, so thanks for joining us on such short notice, Daniel. I did want to mention that first and foremost this is a viewer request too. We had a viewer request that we have Daniel on the show as a guest. So here we are.
Well,
comments.
JD was unaware that we got that request when I asked Daniel to be on the show. So hey, wish fulfillment accidentally.
Exactly.
So, any way it gets done, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's all held together with duct tape and baling wire.
Right. That's kind of the way my customs are sometimes too.
Yeah, super glue and super glue accelerator.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we use that too, and liquid nail also.
Yeah. So I think I think one of the opening questions we ask every customizer is, how did you get into customizing?
So I guess like a lot of us, I believe, when I was young, I started, working with the vintage figures, and we didn't have a whole lot, so I just had a few figures at first, and my dad had these screwdrivers laying around the house,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's how we got into mine.
Right. I just started taking them apart, and putting them back together in different ways. I didn't paint them or anything, back then. But to me, that was, everyone has their favorite figure, their favorite character and everything. And I have a lot of those too. But I really enjoy just making up my own different ones and then playing with them that way, and everything. So I guess years later, it was just kind of a natural fit when I started collecting it. Yeah, it looked like something I could do. So I really wanted to give it a shot, and I probably practiced for maybe a year or so, where I was just doing trades, and then someone finally asked me, if I'd sell them one, and I didn't even, I was had no idea what I'd charge or anything. So,
right.
But that was pretty cool, and that was probably I want to say 9 years ago.
Okay.
Cool. My favorite gimmick after I discovered the screwdrivers with the vintage Joes was, I don't know if you ever watched the Sunbow cartoon, but on that show, the Joes would very frequently steal the suits of the Cobra Troopers, and they'd go in disguise.
Yep.
And then once they were revealed, they'd spend part of the episode or a few minutes of the episode still wearing the uniform, but Flint would have the beret on, but he'd be wearing the Cobra Trooper uniform, and that was my favorite. I'm like, all my Joes, they were always in disguise with the Cobras. Right. So there were, let's put it this way, my Python Patrol Crimson Guard lost his head in a vacuum cleaner, because you remember back in the old days, if something like that went through the vacuum cleaner, that's it. The vacuum was done.
Oh yeah,
Not-
we had like an industrial vacuum cleaner. It wouldn't clog up the vacuum cleaner, but the vacuum cleaner would destroy the part.
Yeah, we had the problem where, because now vacuum cleaners now they're all modular. You can take, modular. You can take them all apart and clean them, but not back then. So if a head got sucked up through the thing, it'd burn the motor out, and that's what happened. Was my Python Crimson Guard did not have a head because there was a Joe in disguise,
right?
And my mother was vacuuming, and you hear the and then you smell the motor burning, and then my dad took the thing out, took the screwdriver out, pulled what little part he could, got the thing, and yeah, my Python Crimson Guard head was desiccated by the thing, and then we needed a new vacuum. Stupid Python Patrol. So yeah, I don't know which Joe was in disguise, but after that, I learned to be much more careful with the parts. With not wanting to replace another vacuum cleaner.
Says the guy that's got his foot loose in his grandmother's driveway, buried in the cement.
Well, yeah, but it was around the same era. I hadn't yet learned all of my lessons, so. But yeah, the screwdriver trick. Yeah, I think that's what started me. That's what started it. It was an innovative thing. I mean, and Remco was ripping it off. The core was ripping it off. So I was mixing those parts around too. The core figures bugged me though, because they had the much wider torsos and they didn't look right with the Joe parts on them.
The A-Team ones, those were I remember using some of those. But that's the thing I had come across, now that I'm doing it. Sculpting and different things, to really how to use different parts, that was different lines, with because now where I did just start with GI Joe, and I don't say that lightly, just GI Joe, to mean that obviously, but now I have a lot of requests for like Marvel and DC, and which is great, but also celebrity, and movies and television shows and things of that nature. So, and that really, for me, I want to get as realistic as possible, like, and so doing, different likenesses and stuff of characters, is kind of something I'm really starting to focus on or want to more of. Definitely. So I just finished a big project over the last, I guess it's been almost 2 years now. I was working on that with this guy. It was all the cast of Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Really, it was something that I worked on for, I think it was about 2 years and everything. So we just finished it up, and he sent me back some photos and stuff. So it was really cool. Yeah.
I did that Sons of Anarchy custom. Marcus Aiken, Dark Horse, had a custom head of him made. So I made him a Sons of Anarchy biker. And then I saw Spartan 118, who has some of the best, like, 118 scale, like, celebrity heads, because he shrinks down all the Hot Toys heads. He's got a real cool,
that's how he pulls that off. Okay.
Yeah, he's shrinking down custom Hot Toys heads. He has a real nice Jax Teller head, and I'm doing like one order from him a month, just getting like 2 heads, and otherwise I'd buy like everything and I'd have this huge bag of stuff that I'd never get done. So I'm buying just a couple of heads at a time until
I know what you mean by that too, bro.
Yeah. So I just got a Dirty Harry Clint Eastwood head, and I did I have that one. Captain Miller from Saving Private Ryan custom a few months ago, and so somebody said, we'll make Private Ryan, and he had a head for that, so I got that head too. I just haven't started those customs, but it's one of the things that I've said frequently, that especially on customs like that, it lives or dies by the head that you.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And for those, I think I sculpted every single one of them. Not that they're,
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Not that they're, incredible or anything. I was pretty proud of them though.
Yeah, no reason not to be. I can't sculpt for shit.
I'm pretty sure I did. I'm trying to remember if I used and when I say sculpt, it's not from the ground up. I use a base figure, and then I'll sculpt some nose and ears, some hair.
See, I can't sculpt. I mean, I can sculpt hair. I can add hair and facial hair and hair. I mean, that stuff is good, and like I can make like clothing wrinkles and stuff like that. But when it comes to face detail, noses, even trying to fix just eyebrows or ears, I can't really do any of that kind of stuff.
This is something I've been working on for like 3 or 4 years now, kind of, and I don't feel I'm very good at it yet. So.
Yeah, I think we all kind of feel that way. Definitely from time to time. It's like, I know my sculpting sucks, so I don't do it unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah, you really don't do it unless you absolutely have to. Because he texted me last week. He's like, I gotta sculpt this thing, and I'm like, you hate sculpting? He's like, yes, I do. I'm like, okay, so you're gonna get it over with quick then, huh?
Yeah, and I'm still pretty much stuck on it. I got a Fortnite figure to make a Hydra Viper.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd made any progress on that.
I'll tell you, some of those Fortnite figures I've been using for quite a few customs.
I adore that line, but
yeah, there's my work in progress Hydra Viper figure.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I was very proud of him for deciding to use a Fortnite figure because Brian doesn't necessarily like the aesthetics of it because they're not realistic. And I get it. I love the aesthetic of it. He skews more towards the Joy Toy type stuff, where I find that stuff is really awesome looking, but I also find it boring because it's so realistic. I don't feel like it's very toyetic.
Yeah, see, I like the hyper realism. That's one of the things that drew me into customizing.
Yeah.
And I like that's one of the reasons I like Daniel's customs is his paint jobs are just amazing.
Yeah, dude, your paint jobs always impress me. The amount of patience you have for the painting. I mean, there's days where I can be patient and I can get it right. More often than not, there are not those days. So it only goes so far. But
yeah,
all the paint work that you do, especially on the faces, I'm like, he clearly has a lot of energy to concentrate on those faces, and I don't, because you can get a lifelike quality to
that was something to be honest with you, when I first it was daunting, of course, and then it was something I really zeroed in on, and once again I still don't think I do very well, because there's some guys that are just
we are all our own worst critic.
Yeah,
so
totally.
But I really appreciate that. Like, I have this guy right here this is another gung ho that I'm doing, and I think this one, I don't know how well you can see it in the
Dress Marines
oh yeah,
Dress Blues. Okay, yeah.
I can't tell you which number this is necessarily, but I've done a number of these now. But for some reason, I think this particular head and eyes and everything came out really, really well. So it's kind of.
But there's nothing like that feeling when you get a custom done and it's exactly how you imagined it.
Right.
One of the most rewarding things about this particular hobby, and it's one of the reasons, definitely one of the things that we've been promoting about the month-long spotlight on customizers is just not just the journey, but the end when you get it done and you're like, holy shit, I made that, and it came out awesome.
And it's like you take the photos, and it is a good feeling. It's great. Yeah, it absolutely is. And I wanted to mention, if I could, you know, I had been in this thing for probably 3 or 4 years, and my brother passed. And it was sudden. It was extremely sudden. And, you know, I kind of just threw myself into this, you know, like 100%. My brother collected toys. He loved, he was more into model cars and die-cast cars and things like that. But he collected a lot of different things, you know, also. But, you know, so I threw myself into this, you know, and it really, it helped out a lot. And I found, you know, it can be a great
catharsis.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I work as a paramedic. I've been a paramedic for the last 21 years, and it is definitely one of the things that I do to help relieve stress.
Yeah, yeah.
Get home, I'm like,
it's kind of like I didn't even realize, I guess, at the time how much it was helping me. I guess is kind of what I mean. You know, as I look back on it later, it's like, wow.
Yeah, no, I completely get that.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I have a bad day and it's like I'll be customizing for a while. So I completely get that. And it works. I think it's a great way to relieve stress for the most part, you know, as long as my customizing is going well. You know, if I'm having getting something done, then it's like my wife's like, I can hear you swearing from upstairs.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I have to use all the oh my gosh and goodness stuff, you know.
Right. So what are you working on right now, aside from your Marine there?
Well, I have I've got I have a number of different things going on. I have a Hydra Viper.
Ooh.
Working on here.
Nice. Is that a boss fight figure?
No, it looks like Snake Eyes.
This is actually a Snake Eyes. It's 2 different versions of Snake Eyes.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A little bit of Ultimate Snake Eyes in there. A little bit of 25th cartoon Snake Eyes.
Right. And so I got that working and going on that.
Nice. I'm interested to see how that comes out, because that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah, Hydra Vipers. Brian and I both have a penchant for those guys. So
yeah.
Have you guys seen the female Hydra Viper I did?
No.
Uh-oh, Brian, you need some inspiration.
Oh,
now.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, man. I thought it was pretty cool.
Shit! No, I have not seen that one.
Because that's one of my favorite things to. So like my 2 top favorite things to make are my first one's got to be seals. You know, I made seals. My next favorite one is to do female versions of specialty Vipers. So, and then probably my third one is to like reimagine existing G.I. Joe characters, like the weird ones that are esoteric.
Right.
People are like, that was just a bad figure, and make it look awesome. So those are definitely my 3 favorite things to do. So yeah, I got to see that female Hydra, because I thought about that. I'm like, how would I do a female Hydra Viper? I don't even know where I would start on that.
I think you did a female Moto Viper recently.
Yeah, that was my last one.
That was great. Yeah, I love that one. That was really
Daniel, nice. Is your female Hydra Viper already posted, or is that in progress?
No, I did that probably 8 months ago, 9 months ago.
Oh, yeah, totally missed that. So I'm gonna have to go look.
I don't know how.
Well, you were deployed, and I'm oblivious. Probably, I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, you were overseas, and I'm just in La La Land. So
I do post. You know, in all fairness, I do post a lot. So I do know that too. So I do post a lot of figures, so it does get mixed up, I'm sure, in the mix at times.
And we will, for those of you interested, and if you're watching this, you are, if you look down in the show notes, we will have links to Daniel's social media, Facebook, Instagram, any of the stuff that he uses. So be sure and check out his work there too.
I'm also you mentioned that, like the esoteric figures and everything, and I enjoy doing a lot of those too. Like I have a request right now for a steamroller.
Yeah,
steamroller, the mobile command center driver.
Right. Yes,
so that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
My favorite detail. Okay, he's not a great. He's a forgotten character, and not not a great G.I. Joe figure, but he did make a great Dreadnought when the club used his parts for one of their new Dreadnought characters. But my favorite detail on the sculpt of
I know what you're gonna say.
Steamroller, in the back pocket, he's got a can of snuff that they sculpted. And I'm like, I love that sculpt detail. And he kind of, I feel like that gives him a lot of characterization, where if you really look at the rest of the figure, other than his hat, which I think it says dog on it, which I always imagined that was like a nickname or something, or like his construction crew that he came from. But yeah, I like to see custom versions of him, especially ones that go off book a little bit.
Yeah. I always just thought he was a Dreadnought. I couldn't read and stuff. You know?
Well, I think he's one of a handful of Joes that they named it a Joe, but I really think it could have gone either way.
Right.
Armadillo is another one. And they really, which is why I thought it was ingenious when the club used most of his recipe for a Dreadnought, because it's like, well, yeah, it's not great as a Joe figure.
My internet's not working very well here.
You want to pause it?
No, keep going. I was trying to get because I was trying to think what his hat said, because I thought it said cat.
Yeah, I didn't think it was dog.
Which is a construction. They
Caterpillar.
Yeah. They make construction vehicles.
I can't remember what it was at all, though.
But I can't get my Google to work. My Firefox has been really weird on my computer recently. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't even know what Firefox is. Well, technically I do. I know it's an internet thing, but whatever. I use Google Chrome. So
yeah, I might start switching to that. All my stuff is like memorized in there, though. All my passwords and stuff like that. So I'm not looking forward to having to reset that.
We should all switch over to Netscape Navigator. We'll be doing well then.
Right.
So Daniel, do you are there figures that you haven't made, characters that you haven't made that you're thinking about making or wanting to make? Or because I have lots of ideas for figures and a lot of them never get started, and even if I do start them, a lot of them never get finished. So sometimes I just avoid starting them. I think on it for a while, and then I see how many other things come up instead.
Right. Well, I actually have this is, and I don't know why I haven't made this character yet. Mutt and Junkyard.
Yeah, I did one last year that I was really happy with.
And I haven't made one yet, so I have one sitting in my drawer that I'm just kind of I think it's the first 25th one. I think that's it.
Yeah, the body for one sitting here. I don't know why he's sitting on my customizing desk, but he is.
I have one in my drawer with Mutt, and so I'm when I get a chance to do when I'm not doing commission work, I do kind of always have something that I'm interested in doing and working on, but I stay pretty busy with requests and all. But I did have someone ask the other day for a bat, and I haven't done a bat yet, so that's gonna be great.
As in flying rodent or like battle android trooper?
Battle android trooper. I'd like to do the flying rodent though. That sounds good too. Maybe I'll put some wings on the bat.
I think you should. Yeah, give it some robot bat wings or something, and really drive the joke home. And possibly not at all amuse the person that you're making it for, but greatly amuse yourself in the process. Sometimes I like putting jokes on my custom, like the ones that I'm working on for Brian for our custom challenge, there may or may not be a few inside jokes contained in the customs themselves. So
nice. I'm looking
the
inside jokes are good.
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, and wordplay is always fun too. Because we Brian and I have a text thread going with his wife where sometimes we'll post puns. She's not a fan of puns.
Nope.
We're both fans of
No.
puns.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah, well, we're both fans of puns, and sometimes she'll laugh and sometimes she really, really won't. And it makes me glad that I'm not there to get the dirty look that I'm sure he's getting for it.
Usually when you post those, I'm at work or somewhere else. I'm like, ooh, I'm glad I'm not next to her. Or she's at work. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, she responded first. Oh, excellent. So yeah, I like some wordplay. Yeah. I always appreciated when Larry Hama would write jokes onto the file cards, like the Dreadnoks being Tom, Dick, and Harry, winking, blinking, and nod. I love jokes like that. I'm like, I don't know what inspired it, but I'm glad he did it.
Absolutely. I agree with you. We actually do something else. I do a different business, but the same type of, it's art, cutting boards. And we do like pulp kitchen,
Nice. Does it glow gold mysteriously?
No, we still don't know if it does yet or not. We'll find out.
I can get behind that. Well, see, I love when I find out that people have practical uses for their art too, like that, like you make creative cutting boards, because I have no practical application for my art. It's just toys. Because anytime I try to customize something that isn't toys, it doesn't really work out. So right? I like finding out that there are real world applications for people's creativity, because I admire it, because I don't have it.
Right. Well, thank you. The cutting boards are cool, definitely. We do like Lionel Richie, hello, is it me you're cooking for?
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot.
But we have coming up with those for sure.
Man, I really just, you should make a cutting board that somehow integrates that. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I don't know how you do it, but I feel like they could make a good subject for a cutting board.
All right, just as an aside, now my internet's working, and his Steamroller's hat does say dog.
It does say dog.
It does. I could have sworn it said cat, but
I am such a nerd.
You are such a nerd.
I thought it was like initials for some reason.
I always argue G.I. Joe trivia with JD, and I always lose.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that,
right?
We had a half an hour discussion about Hiss drivers last night. I took a picture of 225th anniversary ones, and I'm like, hey, are these both Rip It? And he's like, neither of them are. I'm like,
and then I went in to explain that there were actually four different Hiss drivers that use the 25th Hiss driver mold, but only 3 of them were called Hiss drivers. One of them was called the Hiss Commander. And then I said there were 2 red ones. He's like, yeah, one came with the later. He said use the Battle Armor Cobra Commander legs. I'm like, no, that was a Pursuit of Cobra one. There's 2 different bright red 25th Hiss tank drivers. And he's like, I can't. He's like, I'm not good with these. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also a nerd for Hiss tanks, so I kind of have to know who drives them. Like, it kind of comes with the territory. Because there were 4 different Pursuit of Cobra Hiss 3 different Pursuit of Cobra Hiss drivers, and they all use the battle armor Cobra Commander legs. And I don't own any of them. I did have one of the Hiss drivers that came with the Pursuit of Cobra Hiss, but I customized it, and that didn't work out, and I no longer have it.
Right. I think I have legs somewhere, right?
Right, yeah, JD sending me legs for the 25th because I'm going to do a female hiss driver. I don't have all the parts worked out, but I definitely want to use the legs from a
and yeah, because he wanted to get one of the new hiss drivers from the retro ones. But I mean, firstly, to buy them, they're expensive, and he doesn't want the hiss tank. But also, I don't think it would work because they've actually got different construction on them. Like they don't have the leg screws or whatever. So yeah, because they're actually. Oh no, excuse me. Yes, they do have the leg screws, but they are the bar that holds them together is plastic now, and it's not metal. And I wouldn't want to fiddle with it because I'd be afraid to snap the bar on it.
If you heat it up, it'll be all right.
But yeah, and the other problem is both of my hiss drivers have this problem. Rip It and the red hiss driver, they're bow-legged.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
it's the new retro one.
Yeah. And yeah, they're both bow-legged like that. And that'd be another reason not to. I mean, if they were more widely available and you could get them a little cheaper, I'd say. But honestly, all the hiss drivers that I looked up, there aren't many of them from the retro ones because obviously, not like they were shipped in huge numbers. Yeah. But the couple that I saw on eBay with the buy it now prices, they cost almost as much as the hiss tanks do.
I know.
So,
I have a couple of the hiss tanks sitting here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have every hiss tank that they've made, but I've got one of all the major releases and a couple of repaints. Like I've got a septic tank and I've got the Arctic hiss tank, and I've got the vac metallized chrome one from the Canadian convention back in 2009, the hate tank. And I've got the Shockwave hiss tank, from the San Diego Comic-Con. But
yeah, I've got a couple of those.
Yeah, and I've got the Soundwave hiss, but I don't use it as Soundwave. I use it as dark mount because he's the same colors. And why the hell would Soundwave be a tank? I don't know.
Yes, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, he came in one of the other convention sets, one of the other crossover convention sets.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, let's see. It was the DTC, the direct to consumer hiss, repainted as Soundwave, and I think it was packed with was there was a Scarlet figure in there, and was it another Sky Striker? No, it was a Rattler painted as, who was the red Rattler?
Oh, yes.
Power Glide. Yeah, it was a 25th Rattler. Yeah, it's Power Glide.
Yeah, no, I have that set. That's the one set I never opened. I did.
Yeah. I about 4 or 5 years ago, I found that hiss tank, that Soundwave hiss, for like $30 shipped on eBay. I'm like, holy shit, yes, I need that. So yeah, I've got Shockwave and Dark Mount as Cobra rides. Yeah, I kind of wanted that set because I kind of like the red Rattler, but yeah, that wasn't going for the same type of deal that the hiss tank was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've got just about all the major hiss variations they've done.
Do you have a
I
hiss
got the
too?
retro. Yeah, and I repainted the. I couldn't stand how bright red the guns were, so I've repainted both of them. They're not great, but it was just too bright. Yeah, I've got. Oddly enough, the hiss 2 is one that I'm surprised it never got repainted over the years.
I am too.
Because the club, the mold still existed, because back in 2003 for the convention set, the club did a repaint of the hiss 2, but it wasn't much different from the original. It was a little darker red on the guns and a different shade of blue for the body. And then it was never repainted again after that. And I'm really surprised because imagine all the paint variations they did on the original Hiss.
Yeah.
Imagine some of those on the Hiss 2, like a Crimson Hiss 2. That would have been cool.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know why. The mold still existed, but unless something happened to the mold after the club used it the last time. But
So that's definitely one of the vehicles that I have on. Like, if I find it for a decent price at a convention or something, I'm gonna pick it up. But
I think the one I've got, I think it wasn't in great shape. I think it was a beater when I bought it, and then I bought it, had it shipped, painted the guns, but the paint I used on it is also real fiddly, so I don't mess with it. It just stays where it is. So yeah,
I'll tell you, that's the thing. I don't do a lot of vehicles. In fact, I don't know that I've ever customized.
I don't finish.
I have started doing smaller accessories with my figures, but I've never got into doing into vehicles. I thought I would when I first started. I did some dioramas.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun.
I have no patience for those. I wish I did, but I do not.
I don't either. My biggest failed projects are dioramas.
Right.
I
had some fun with it for a little bit.
I've done a few vehicle customs, but I often have the same problem as I start in on them and I get stuck and then I don't end up finishing it. Or I end up doing vehicle customs where I don't make any alterations. I just do some paint on it, and that's usually okay. That usually works out okay. Yeah. I'm always impressed by people who can cobble together a lot of different parts out of different vehicles and make it into one cohesive looking smooth thing, because one of the problems I always had when I was trying to build, if I try to modify the body, is I can't smooth it out, and then it looks like ass. And it's one thing if you got that problem on a figure, because it's at a much smaller scale, but it's a lot more noticeable on a vehicle custom.
Right.
So
I think the only vehicle customs I've ever finished are my Seeker Sky Strikers. I've done a few other ones, I guess, but yeah.
Well, you did that badass repaint of the Hurricane VTOL.
Yeah, that's true. But then I was just fooling around with my airbrush.
Still
not finished.
Yeah, but it's presentable. It's good enough. Close enough. I sometimes even the repaints though on a vehicle, like I'll get it and I'll start and I'm just like, I thought this would be easier. It is not. So it ends up being a half finished or modified. Because that Ninja attack cruiser that they put out for the Retaliation line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. Yeah, I had started to customize that, and then I stopped before I got too far with it, and I dug it up the other day when I was looking for something else, and I'm like, oh, like I saw where I had started to get, but it wasn't much, and I'm like, boy, am I glad I stopped with that where it did, because otherwise I would have wrecked it. I'm like, it's seriously a cool vehicle as it is, and I'm like, boy, am I glad I never actually got into it.
I've seen two really nice customs. Marauder Rubin did a Stinger based off of that, and then I saw somebody do, I don't remember who, but they did a Swindle.
All right, okay. He's one of the Combaticons, right?
Yeah, so it was tan and purple, and it was
cool,
beautiful. It's just a beautiful piece. I don't remember who made that, but the one Marauder Rubin did was fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was a great vehicle for sure.
Yeah,
Brian, which of the Seekers did you do? You did what? Sunstorm?
Yes. Thundercracker,
Skywarp, Starscream, right? Did you do it? No, you didn't do Acid Storm, right?
No, I did Sunstorm, Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Thrust.
Oh, that's right, because Hasbro did Starscream, right? That's right. That's what inspired you in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Then, one of my Facebook buddies did a real amazing dirge. I tried to I looked at that and I'm like, I can't do that. That's where I drew the line, because I was going to do all of the original 6 of them, and then that's what I got that one that I made the Sunstorm out of, and I'm like, nah, I can't. Whatever he did to, and I talked to him, I PM'd him, we chatted for a while, and he told me how he did it, and this is what he used. I'm like, no, I can't do that. That's way above what I can do.
Because the original 6 Seekers, that was the 3 jets, and then the cone heads, right? That's what they call them, right? And then because Acid Storm, Sunstorm, they came out later, right? Ironically, as great as I am with G.I. Joe names, sometimes I'm terrible with the Transformers names. Sometimes
I'm actually very, very the same way. G.I. Joe is just a thing. More.
I mix up Swerve and Swindle, and I can't tell you which one. I was reading one of the IDW Transformers comics the other day, and Swerve and Swindle were in the same panel, and I'm like, you bastards. I'm like, as if I didn't already have enough trouble with that. You drew them into the same panel, and now I really don't know which one is which. So, and I don't even think it's just the letter associations. I really think there's just some characters that like there's Grapple and Huffer and I'm like, all those truck. I don't know which one is which. One of them's orange, but I don't know. I can't tell you the rest of them.
I couldn't either.
Does it change colors?
You know what? For all I know, it might. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to all the combiners, I can name all the combined versions, but half of them, I can only name half of the robots that make them up. Devastator, I don't know. I don't know any of his individual vehicle names. I have no idea. But
Hook.
Yeah,
that's the only one I could think of off the top of my head.
I can't think of any of them.
Yeah. Bone Crusher's one.
Oh, that's right. Well, what didn't help is that on the cartoon, they never did much with the combiners, and like
they were great, though.
They were mostly
when we were young. They were so excellent. I was like,
oh yeah. When I was young, I never had the center one. So I never had the big robot. So I had most of the Combaticons and I had most of the aerial bots, but I never had one of the big, the center robots to make the Gestalt.
The aerial bots, that's Superion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was always kind of fascinated with Stunticons. I never had any of them, but I was always kind of fascinated by them.
I never saw those.
I think I had Optimus Prime, maybe. I mean, literally, I didn't have a whole lot of toys, but I had friends who did, so that was fun.
Yeah,
that was my thing.
Yeah, the neighbor kid had all the Transformers.
That was my thing. I had less than a handful of actual Transformers, but I always made friends with people who did have a bunch of Transformers. So I never lacked for being able to play with the Transformers. I never. And when it comes to the cartoon, I watch it. I'm just like, half of these are just nameless robots. They're never named on screen. And like I said with the combiners, they don't do anything with them as individuals. You see them all, and then they combine, and then that's it. And then it's just Devastator from then on. Because I don't know if you've ever watched the Japanese Transformer series, but I do. They're all in Japanese and they're all subtitled, and I have to pay a lot of attention to them, but I really like them because at some point all the characters get named on screen. Mm-hmm. You could have done that, Sunbow. You could have. It would have helped the nerds like me that wanted to know what the name of all the characters was. But
nerd, right?
This is why Star Wars scratches that itch, because they name all those ridiculous characters that are on the screen. Right. There's no reason to name them, but I always appreciate that they do.
Yeah,
I agree with that too.
But so Daniel, what are you working on? I see you painting while you're.
Oh, I'm actually, I was just gonna put some red here on this.
I'm just curious. That's.
Oh yeah, no. A lot of times we're both like working on custom. I can't work on customs on this episode because I'm working on one of my challenge figures right now. So.
Okay.
Oh yes, you can. You should definitely start working on that. Come on, man. fine.
It's
whatever.
mostly done. It's all detail work. So I'd have to have the loops like Daniel has to get in there to do the, yeah.
Well, I sprayed the primer and started the paint on the first challenge custom. So
so you picked legs finally, have we? Or not?
And I'm
yes,
just
yes, I have. Yes.
Red with this Hydra Viper.
Wait, hold up. Hold that. Wait, hold that up again.
Just putting some red on the I actually
on the Hydra Viper. Okay.
Yeah, I did the black.
What are you gonna do with the gear for him? Do you got like vintage gear that's casted, or
no? I'm
new gear.
Yeah, I'm gonna do something different for sure.
That's cool. I always like seeing innovative accessories. I'm not a big fan.
That's kind of the way. Yeah, that's kind of the way I like to. I love to just piece things together. Like I think you had mentioned that about with the vehicles, and I like to totally. Our big thing is recycling, and
yes,
just keep going with everything.
One of my favorite aspects is taking random non-Joes, especially with not straight away compatible parts, and modifying them so I can make them work with the Joe parts.
Right.
Both of my customs for the challenge, I deliberately used a bunch of parts from different toy lines because I want to make it all work together as a cohesive thing. And I like cobbling together new gear. I understand the appeal of like what the guys like Raging Spoon do, where they take the vintage gear and they modify it and they cast it so so they're proper updates. But I just don't prefer to do that, because if I've got to come up with new gear, well, I'll just come up with new gear. I mean, it's cool. I love looking at it, but when it comes right down to it, I'm like, I'll just make my own stuff. We'll just see what I can. And a lot of times I'm happy with it. Sometimes I'm not.
Yeah, I've talked to. I'm working with AVAX Lab right now. He's gonna make me. He's gonna make me one of the Toxo Viper sets, the version 1 Toxo Viper sets that he's updated, because I'm gonna do a female Toxo Viper.
See, as much as I want to say that Toxo Viper version 1 for that pursuit, for that particular project, that is the right way to go.
Yeah, some of that stuff is. It's like I like taking. Like I said, I like making updates of the like cool updates of esoteric or crappy figures, but sometimes I've got to have 1 or 2 pieces of the vintage that are iconic, that just
like the helmets. The helmets are really great.
Like your
helmets and weapons are big.
Like your female Frag Viper, it's not a Frag Viper without having that particular helmet.
Exactly.
That is where even if I can't get behind the updates of the vintage gear, I do for the helmets, because you gotta have the right helmet, because
it was like my Alley Viper had to have an Alley Viper head. Night Viper had to have a Night Viper helmet.
Actually, absolutely, all those.
The only time I find it okay when the original design didn't necessarily reflect what the card art looked like. Target had that problem.
Yes.
In the art, the Target's mask and helmet are actually a lot cooler than than the actual toy. I'm like, well,
I agree. But I've done a few of those, and
yeah, I'm like, that's one of the exceptions. I'm like, that's where the vintage helmet is not preferable.
Yeah, no, I've made 2 myself, and I did not use anything resembling the vintage helmet on those. Actually, I have one of them. So,
as much as as a rule, I prefer the Toxo Viper version 2 over version 1.
I'm doing one of those too. I ordered a Toxo Viper 2 head or helmet, I think. A head or helmet, I don't remember which, from Star Wars Geek Customs. So
okay. Oh, so you're gonna do female versions of both?
Yeah.
See, I was gonna say for that particular project, it would make sense that you're going with version 1, but the fact that you're gonna do both Toxo, that makes me happy.
Yes.
That makes me very happy. Well, remember last year when I challenged you to make either a Sludge Viper or a Mega Viper? I'm still shocked you did the Mega Viper instead of the Sludge Viper. But I deliberately wanted
I
to.
love how that one came out, man. That was
Mega Viper, dude. That's still one of my favorite customs you ever did.
I remember that one as well. It was very nice. Yeah.
All that yellow, man. Fucking airbrush. I love my airbrush. I could not have done that without an airbrush.
Well, see, that was funny because when I challenged him, I'm like, all right, let's see if he'll do a yellow Cobra Trooper. And so the Sludge Viper and the Mega Viper were the most yellow that I could think of. And I'm like, all right, let's see which one he's gonna do.
Good friend.
I'm such an ass.
Well, I worked that in with the figure that JD, he's every once in a while we'll get to a point where we can't finish the custom that we're working on.
Right.
And I had a build that I just absolutely loved, and I kept repainting and repainting and repainting it. Fuck it, I'm done. And so I gave it to JD and he finished it and it came out nice. And then JD had like this one he was working on. He's like, fuck it, I can't do anything else with it.
I'm like, I don't even know what it was supposed to be. I dug it up. It had been a lost custom. I'm like, what the fuck was I even trying to do here? This sucks. So I sent it to him. I'm like, look at this shit. He's like, oh, I bet I can salvage it. I'm like, all right, you know what? Yeah, you salvage this thing because otherwise I'm going to make it into new parts.
Right.
So yeah, I took it and I tied it in with that custom because I made it a Bio Viper.
I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, well, I didn't see that coming. That was awesome. So,
That's definitely one of the things that I like about customizing is the community. You know, we're really trying to make a big deal about talking to customizers and getting people that are kind of on the fence about customizing into this, is because you have so many people out there that do this, that they enjoy it so much that you meet all these people and they have all these ideas and it's stuff that you never would have thought of, and they're like, hey, you know what, try this, and they're helpful. It's just it's an awesome community to be part of.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me too when I first got into it, was the camaraderie with it, and I would keep that going.
Camaraderie. I couldn't have put it better. That's the best. That's a very good way of describing that.
I like the process of creativity, but I also like the process of getting other people's input too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and then because we had Panama on the show. And he had mentioned, because he had a custom from Brian, and he said that he likes to own customs that friends of his make.
Right.
And so he had mentioned that eventually he'd like a custom from me. So I started designing a custom. I started designing a character. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make this for Panama. It's sort of inspired by something that he already did. It was, and I started consulting with Brian on it. I'm like, well, what do you think? He's like, when you say it, he's like, that's really twisted. I like it.
I started working on one for him too.
What do you got? Ooh, Zombie Viper. Oh, you're using that head off that dire wraith, right? From that the head cast. That's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the things for his paranormal universe.
Yeah, because I've got a paranormal inspired custom that I'm making for him too. I like creating characters for people when I'm gonna send them stuff.
Then you'll like one of your challenge figures, because I took one of what you wanted and made it improved upon it.
Well, good. I'm glad, because I had some pretty shitty ideas for that. I looked at my list of ideas. I'm like, yeah, some of these really suck, and I wouldn't do them either. But
we didn't put as much effort into that as we did the first one, I don't think.
No, we got more creative with the second list, but there's just a few that I wrote down that I'm like, no, if this was the list he gave me, I wouldn't go in this direction. So, but I'll tell you what, one thing I can't paint, or one thing I can't do, is Hawaiian shirts. Daniel,
Oh,
that pilot, that safari pilot that you just posted with the purple shirt and the flower, dude. It made me so jealous that you can make figures in Hawaiian shirts because I can't do it. Chuckles is one of my favorite characters, and I can't paint. And I can't, like, I know the flowers may have been decals or whatever, but I still can't make it convincing. Even if I use stickers, I'm just like, no, I'm just sticking them on here. It looks like shit. It looks like a guy who doesn't know what he's doing with stickers, because I, in fact, do not. And you can make I love that Marauder is doing those CIA figures in the Hawaiian shirts, because I'm like, oh good, I won't have to make any now because I suck at that.
Well, I'll be honest with you, JD. Like the whole decals, I really started getting into using those, you know, on clothing and things. Like I have, which I've been working on camouflage, so I can actually do the digital, you know, like the true digital camouflage with the decals, and it is a process, and it's not easy, really. It's you know, it definitely. I have one just laying around here too that I'm working on. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because it is something that I've kind of worked on for a while.
Well,
it's a combination of decal and painting, actually. So
yeah, and you've struck the right balance, and I'm just like, I can't. I mean, I can't paint that way, and I can't, because I tried water slide decals early this year using Brian's tutorial video as my, and I did it, and I did successfully do a few of them, but sometimes that takes a level of patience that I don't necessarily have. And when I look at doing things like, you know, you use labels of flowers to create a Hawaiian shirt, I'm just like, why don't I have that sorcery?
Yeah, I was looking at that custom right before we started the show. I was like,
yeah,
man, that's smooth. Smooth work.
The medic that you did there, Daniel, her head, what head was that? It was bugging the shit out of me. Like, I know that head from somewhere, but I'm just like, what part is that?
I'll be honest with you.
Was it a cast, or was it off of a figure?
It was in my fodder box.
I've
used it like twice too, and I'm not sure if I've casted it yet, because I know I don't know where it's from. And I know I want to say Indiana Jones, maybe.
You know what? I honestly, I have no idea. I looked, I'm like, I feel like I know that part. But then
send me a link to that real quick in the JD, because I'm not sure which one you're looking at there.
His custom? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that also, though, because on that figure, I used you know, like men's legs, you know, and everything.
Hey, sometimes that works out beautifully.
Sometimes it does. There's a few customs that I've used male legs.
Yeah, and I actually I've done that quite a few times. And I was the reason I'm mentioning this is because I almost used Zaymot's head and sculpted for her head. Actually,
wait, really?
Yeah. I was gonna sculpt that, and I'm still gonna do that. I'm gonna make Zaymot a female.
Well, you know what? They are well, they're both their characters I'm not a fan of. So
yeah, I was gonna say I think that'll work really well, actually.
Yeah, it will. Yeah.
Send me a link, JD.
Brian, hang on. I spilled something on my keyboard. I gotta clean it up real quick.
But the nose was just too scrunched up the other night, and I was like, I'm just not sculpting that tonight. So I used another head. But I had
cannot blame you on that one. All right.
I'm definitely gonna do that. Knock on wood.
No, that's a good idea. I think that'll work really well now that I think about it. Because I had just I just found out last night that I have vintage Crimson the twins. I didn't even realize it came in a lot that I bought from a friend of the family.
Right.
And then so I just moved the deck of my flag, or just moved my flag into the other room because it was getting too much Dremel shavings and airbrush dust on it. So when I started putting figures up, I've set my vintage figures next to like the 25th anniversary or the newer versions of them as part of the display. And yeah, didn't realize that I actually had the vintage ones. And then I was looking at the 25th anniversary ones last night as well. So yeah, I think that, yeah, you'll do well with those using that head.
Yeah, it was a wild idea, and I've been thinking about it for a while. What to use it on? And I was gonna use it as like the nurse type, But yeah, I just didn't have the patience the other night for it. So, but yeah, I don't know what head that is exactly. I do think it might be Indiana Jones, but maybe not.
Oh, if JD would send me a link, I could look at it. But JD's better at parts identity. And I hate, because somebody will ask me, what part is that, or what part did you use for that? And when I first started, people would not tell you what they used if you couldn't identify it. That's how I got so good at parts identification, was looking at other people's customs and like, what did they use for that? What did they use for that? When I couldn't figure it out, I'd ask JD, and like, what did they build that with? And then, so that's what got me really good at part identification early on, because nobody would share that information. But now somebody asks me, and it's like, oh, like, here's my parts list. This is what I used. This is what I did. This is how I painted it. This is everything that I did to do it. This is the color of paint that I used. Anything you want to know, I will tell you how I did it. And then, yeah, a lot of times it's like, I'm sorry, but I have no fucking clue what head that is.
Exactly, dude. Right. Yep. And that was one of these cases. And so, and I think I also with my painting, we were talking about the realism and all. I want to do different facial features, so you're not, you don't even notice. My goal really is to have this conversation. What was that? You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Because I want to do, like, I did a custom for a buddy of mine now, and but he had ordered it from me a while back, and I used, he sent me a picture of himself to do a custom of him. Shane Robert, good buddy of mine, and I went ahead and used Channing Tatum, Duke head.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, this guy looks a good bit like him, same as Jax does. Anyway, but he had no clue. He had like literally no clue. And when I told him later on, I was like, struck a light bulb. He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you look a good bit like him." So now, I got to give him shit now,
Nice.
So, but yeah. That is definitely my goal. I think is to have everyone looking and saying what was used. Man, I have no idea. So it's kind of.
Yeah, and it's frustrating for me when it comes down to that, because it's like, if I wanted to make another one, it's like I wouldn't even know where to start on.
Sometimes I'm that way too. I have to go back to my photos.
Right, I sent it. Yeah, my mouse battery is dying too at the same time. I spilled something on the keyboard. My mouse battery's dying. Bad timing.
I feel bad about my small audio.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Oh yeah, man, I got no clue on that.
Yeah, that head just looks so familiar, but I can't place it. That one, I mean, they both kind of have that prop, but I'm like, nope, I can't.
And well, the other head is actually, man, that was a head I got once again in but I think that was like a casting. It was a cast of a cast, or a cast that I had. Then I recasted it, and I think he had hair, and I made it bald. So
okay. All right, so
it kind of looks like Haley Atwell.
Well, someone posted that it's Kitty from that 70s show.
Oh yeah,
Now you'll see it. Now you won't be able to not see it, right?
Holy shit! Yeah.
He's like, is that Kitty? I was like, yes, it is.
I'm like, oh my god, yeah, it's Deborah Jo Rupp. I never noticed that. I didn't make the. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I see it in the comments there. Yeah, no, that's hilarious.
That is so funny. Yeah,
that is one of the things that, man, I wish I'd gotten into is casting.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I actually have a whole room, another room set up upstairs. And I just got into that there really about a year ago. So I'm not doing anything for anyone else, anything like that.
Right.
I just do it for any parts that I need here, that I want to reproduce. So, and a lot of times my casts don't come out great, which gives me more things to sculpt on. So, which is cool too. So, and I literally have just sitting here a big bowl of heads that I'll, cast something, and then I'll just go ahead and, resculpt a different head from, or a different face from or whatever. So, and then I've gotten pretty good at it now too, where I can just, I think that's that Clint Eastwood you were talking about. And then
okay.
Decided is one of my sculpts for, or no, that's that's be one of my sculpts for. I think I used that for. Oh man, it escapes my mind now. The Deadshot, or is that? Anyhow, one of the DC characters.
Gotcha.
But so that was casting. I wanted to get into that because I wanted to be able to just make some parts for myself here.
Did you have somebody teach you how to do that, or did you figure that out on your own?
No, with most of everything I do, I have a number of different guys that have helped me along the way, and then I just kind of I've gathered this piece from this guy, this piece from that guy, and then I wouldn't say I do it exactly like I was shown or how they do it, but I pick up different definitely, and but yeah, I think like Richard will help me out a lot with the casting, and then also Vca Dennis from Rotarious Customs. He does a lot of. I've been actually working with him a number of years for a lot of his parts because they're so rare to find. It does take a while. And everyone knows that, but he has.
Yeah, that's one of the things that it really kind of annoys me is when people are so like Amazon, like I'll have it
now, right? Yes.
People don't realize what goes into how long it takes to do this kind of stuff, and it's gonna be a few weeks before you get this. And like I don't have a problem with it.
That's the reason why guys like AVAC, they have to close their store sometimes because they got to play catch up. I've never done casting. I helped a friend of mine out with some casting stuff years and years ago. It's involved. I don't have a space to attempt it. Right. It takes a lot of trial and error stuff before you get it right, and I simply don't have the time, energy, or space for it. And I mean that sometimes I mean that like in my mind. Sometimes I'm just the logistics of attempting to start before you even get good at it and you get usable parts. I'm just like, no, the people that are truly good at it, I'm happy to wait on them because I know it's going to be done properly.
Right.
If ever I was going to do casting stuff, it would be mostly so if I did some sculpting or if I did some kind of modification, then I wouldn't have to worry about glued together parts. I could just cast it but I'm just like at the same time, by the time I got around to doing the casting of it, I may have lost the steam for making it all together.
That's kind of one of the things that I thought about. I would, what would I cast up is the other thing, because I don't reproduce my customs. I don't make doubles of stuff. It's like, this is the only one that there's ever going to be of this. but then there's times like, then it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I want to make a team or something like that.
Right.
There's a specific helmet that's expensive to get. Like the Swamp Viper, the like Retaliation Swamp Viper head that came with that shitty colored water moccasin. I absolutely
That's what you use for the Motor Viper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've used that on 3 different customs. And it's just a very versatile, cool looking head. And it's like, yeah, I could use, that's one of the things that I would cast up, because it's with just, that's one of the things I learned from like buying Joy Toy figures, because it's the same buck, but with cool paint apps with just a little bit of different paint, you can make one piece look completely different than the other.
Yeah. I've been getting into some of those Joy Toys this year as well, but I buy mostly the blank ones, or I bought a few of them.
I've got a few of them. I like the gear for them. I like
I love everything they send with them. Right, they're pretty cool. I dig them.
One of them has this cool flak vest with like an open collar, and it's so cool that I haven't decided what to use it on, because I know I'm going to save it until I find that one perfect project, because I love the look of the vest, but I'm going to wait until I find the one perfect project for it, because I want to see what I can do with it. But I gotta find the right. And a couple times I've tried it on a few things, but I'm like, no, it looks like a piece that you could use for a unique character, and I haven't found that character yet. So,
gotcha. Yeah. All right, guys, we are just at an hour. We try and keep the shows with our guests, very important guests, down to an hour, because people tend to watch them more, and that's what we want people to get into this and to enjoy the episode and watch the whole thing with our guest. And if we didn't get to anything, it gives us an excuse to have that guest back. So if you would like to see Daniel on the show again, please comment below. Tell us that you enjoyed it. Ask some questions so we have something to ask him next time on the show. And as always, please do that fun social media stuff. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And of course, thank you for watching.
Daniel, thanks for being on the show, especially on short notice. I swear to God, next time you're on the show, I'm going to give you more leadway. I'm gonna try. So.
Thank you so much. I really had a good time. I really appreciate being recognized.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being on the show. And like I said, you were requested, so we're fulfilling a request, and it worked out perfectly for us.
And it was one of my requests. I'm like, oh, man, I like this guy's work. I want to get him on the show.
Absolutely.
So coincidentally, somebody else had asked too.
So, and that just goes to show you, we do look at the comments. So if there are other customizers that you want to see on the show, let us know, because we will get them on.
Or we will at least try.
Yes.
So
yeah, we've had one person decline, 1 or 2 people decline.
I've had a few decline, but that's okay. I was just figure, you know what? Maybe they're just not comfortable being on the show. Maybe they don't want to be on camera. You know, a lot of times, maybe it's just a comfort thing. So I'm like, that's cool. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to besmirch anybody for not wanting to do this.
Sure,
a lot of times I'm just happy when somebody agrees to it. So, and
we're always happy to help those people get their exposure. So be sure and check the show notes below for links for Daniel's work.